Chapter 30, Cellular Transport and Metabolism. Now, we don't need to know everything in this chapter, but I am going to read through it and then I will show you the things that you really need to know. So, cellular transport. Cells are constantly absorbing and releasing things into their surroundings. Cells are a lot like our bodies. We are constantly drinking, eating, and expelling waste. Every time we exhale, we release our body's carbon dioxide waste. A cell works the same way. It constantly takes in oxygen, food, and water and expels waste. The cell membrane is the gatekeeper of the cell's activities. The membrane is selectively permeable, which means it allows some things in and out of the cell, but not all things. It's selective. Things enter and exit the cell membrane through passive and active transport. Passive transport is the movement of things in and out of the cell without the use of energy. There are three kinds. There's diffusion, which is the movement of molecules from an area of high to low concentration. Molecules enter a cell if they are in a lower concentration within the cell. The cells try to find an equilibrium, a balanced state. For example, your cells use up oxygen all the time, so the concentration of oxygen in your cells is lower than the concentration in the air. When you breathe, oxygen molecules from the air diffuse into the cells of your lungs. Diffusion also works the other way, to expel things. For example, after using oxygen, your cells produce carbon dioxide. You exhale carbon dioxide from your cells because the concentration of carbon dioxide is greater inside the cell than it is in the air. Osmosis is a type of diffusion. It is simply the process of water molecules moving from a higher to a lower concentration through a membrane. When you soak dehydrated fruit, like raisins, in water, they rehydrate. The water passes through the cell walls to fill in the fruit. The water flows from a point of high concentration, the bowl, to one of low concentration, inside the raisin. And then the last one is in facilitated diffusion, transport proteins on the cell's membrane transport substances into and out of the cell without energy. Those are the three kinds of passive transport: diffusion, osmosis, and facilitated diffusion. Active transport requires energy to move a substance into or out of a cell. A transport protein called adenosine triphosphate, or ATP, it's easier to say, binds with the molecule and transports it into the cell using the cell's energy. When a molecule is moving against its concentration gradient, in other words, when a molecule moves from an area of low concentration to an area of high concentration, energy is required. Then cellular metabolism. Cellular metabolism of a cell includes all of the chemical reactions that allows a cell to survive. Metabolism includes the chemical reactions required to release and generate energy, to produce chemicals the body needs, such as proteins, and to expel waste. Photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is the chemical reaction a plant carries out in order to produce energy from sunlight. In photosynthesis, the green pigment in plants, called chlorophyll, uses the sun's energy to convert carbon dioxide and water into energy in the form of glucose, a sugar molecule. Photosynthesis releases oxygen as a waste product. Photosynthesis can be shown with the chemical equation. Now, this is a review from last try or from the beginning of the year because we did cover this. So you take the carbon dioxide and the water with the light energy and you create the glucose, so the C6H12O6, and the O2, the oxygen. And in here you have the image of a plant. The water comes up through the roots, The carbon dioxide is absorbed through the leaves. They get the light energy. The chloroplasts with the chlorophyll inside of them convert that energy, use that. They make the sugar, which goes into the berries, which are really yummy, and then they release oxygen. Cellular respiration. In cellular respiration, glucose in food reacts with oxygen, producing carbon dioxide, water, and energy in the mitochondria, plus the waste products of the reaction, CO2 and H2O. So in this little blue box, it says cellular respiration mimics our body's own metabolic and respiratory systems. We eat food and breathe in oxygen. Then chemical reactions break down the molecules and rearrange them, releasing the energy we need. When you breathe in and out, you're inhaling the oxygen necessary for cellular respiration and exhaling carbon dioxide and water, the waste products of cellular respiration. Respiration is another word for breathing, and breathing allows you to get oxygen in order to power cellular respiration. Cellular respiration releases energy in the form of ATP. So here we have it's backwards of photosynthesis. So we have our glucose, our C6H12O6, and oxygen, O2, and that is converted into carbon dioxide, CO2, water, H2O, and ATP. Okay? So in this blue box it says here, photosynthesis and respiration are the exact opposite of each other. Compare the formulas. Fermentation. I will read this, but we really won't need to know about fermentation. But fermentation is another chemical reaction that releases energy through the breakdown of food. Fermentation releases less energy than cellular respiration, and it occurs where there is no oxygen available for cellular respiration. Fermentation is just like respiration, except it doesn't use oxygen. It also breaks down glucose molecules, releasing energy in the form of ATP. When there isn't enough oxygen available to fuel cellular respiration, your muscles resort to fermentation for energy. One waste product of fermentation is lactic acid. Muscle burn and cramps are caused by the lactic acid buildup in your muscles from the fermentation reaction. Ouch. So remember, fermentation breaks down sugars and releases energy in food without using oxygen. Production of necessary chemicals. The metabolism of a cell makes all the chemicals necessary for the cell's survival. The molecules produced by the cells are amino acids, the compounds that can be added together to make proteins, and proteins, large molecules made from stringing amino acids together. Then we also have enzymes. Enzymes are molecules that help a chemical reaction proceed. A certain amount of energy is required to get a reaction going, and enzymes reduce that amount of energy. Think of an enzyme as a matchmaker. When molecules react, they have to physically fit together. An enzyme physically brings the molecules together, helping the reaction proceed. Because enzymes are shaped to match specific reactants, each reaction uses a different enzyme. For example, some enzymes in your body break down food into smaller molecules, while other enzymes help pass these smaller molecules into your bloodstream. So here's the check your knowledge. Now, I would suggest that you go ahead and answer these questions. I will also post the answers to this so that you can check them yourself, but it'll only help you learn the content. So number one, the cell membrane is selectively permeable. What does this mean? Number two, give an example of something that the membrane is selectively permeable to. Number three, define passive transport and list the three forms of passive transport. Number four, compare and contrast diffusion and osmosis. So how are they the different and how are they the same? Number 5, explain the differences between active and passive transport. Number 6, what does an enzyme do? Number 7, how are cellular respiration and fermentation different? Number 8, in which organelle does cellular respiration take place? Number 9, what are the end products of cellular respiration? And number 10, explain the process of photosynthesis. Now, the answers to these questions are all found in this reading. So you can go back in the reading, you can highlight things, and really look for those answers. They're not going to be verbatim, meaning it is not going to say, how cellular respiration and fermentation are different. You will need to infer what that is, but it will explain to you what each of them does, so you will be able to figure out what that difference is. If you have any questions, let me know.